The Standing Committee on Public Accounts concluded its oversight visits to Medupi and Kusile power stations. The committee undertook these visits with the aim of understanding the challenges that led to the countrywide power outages earlier on this year. The committee also wanted to inform itself about the cost escalations at these power stations. Both challenges contributed to Eskom's poor performance over the past few years and have had a negative impact on the country. On Tuesday, Scopa visited Medupi Power Station in Liphalale, and on Wednesday it visited the Kusile Power Station in Emalahleni, engaging with management and officials at both stations. Today, the committee met with Eskom's board and management and engaged on the issues that emerged at the power stations. The committee then moving forward will develop a detailed report from these oversight visits, which will be tabled in Parliament for its consideration and approval. Scopa is committed to closely monitoring Eskom while it works to overcome the challenges plaguing it and to rooting out corruption. In line with Scopa's mandate, this will include scrutinizing Eskom's financial statements when they are submitted to Parliament in the coming weeks. Scopa appreciates the seriousness on Eskom's part of understanding the importance of the work of the committee in laying out a program of interaction in an effort to reaching a solution to the current problems. This understanding is significant, particularly because Eskom's performance for the past few years, Eskom has incurred a loss of 2.3 billion rands, 19.6 billion rands of irregular expenditure, and the debt of 380 billion rands in 2017-2018 financial year. Scopa wants to see this situation turn around, and this is why we saw it fit to start this journey with Eskom. That is the statement that the committee wanted to make, and so we want to categorically emphasize as a committee that we are adopting Eskom as one of our key focus areas until we bring all the Eskom matters to a logical conclusion, one way or the other. And as we indicate, there is a serious understanding on both our parts that we are duty-bound to do our job, and Eskom is duty-bound to perform its function. And therefore that understanding clears the woods, because we will be using parliamentary process in every material respect to ensure that we turn things around at Eskom. So over back to you, Faith. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. We'll start taking hands. The lady with me.
My name is Diabo Sito from SABC TV. I hear that you had a meeting with the board, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts on the plans that have been outlined in Minister Titombowene's new plan on how to innovate the economy. Key to that, the issue of the splitting of Eskom into three entities, transmitted generation and others. What you make of that? Do you think that this is a good way of going, and it will actually help Eskom in turning around its financial and liquidity issues?
Thank you. We'll take another question. At the back.
I am Andrew from ENC. Just to add on to my colleague's question there on the finance minister's plan, we do understand as well that it suggested the selling of some of these power stations. I want to understand if the Scopa has, in the meeting of the board, dealt with these issues that came out yesterday, and maybe seeing the reality of them going forward.
One more hand.
Thanks, Commissioner from Bloomberg. I've also got a couple of questions. Firstly, based on that Treasury report, there was another study that proposed the sale of Kusile with only 4 units finishing with 6. Is there a chance that that Eskom won't actually complete the power station? And also, what's being done in terms of recovering monies from contractor failures? If you could provide some detail on that, and just how much it's going to cost to finish the plants.
Okay, thank you. We'll take those hands for now and then come back for another round. Over to you, Chuck.
Look, we at the outset we must, but we're not a portfolio committee. Our job as Scopa is we ask the critical question, as we've made the point to all the officials at Eskom, at all the sites and here. We ask the question, what killed the patient? We look at past expenditure patterns. We look at the annual reports which are prepared by the auditors. And then we devise our program of action on the basis of the state of health of those institutions. So the policy questions around unbundling, those questions are best answered by the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises. But what we are concerned about is Eskom managing its finances correctly now as it is structured. And we will hold them, if they unbundle, we will hold them accountable within the parameters of what that unbundling will mean. We're not going to pronounce ourselves on the policy outlook. It's not our job to devise policy. We look at financial management. However Eskom way is structured. If they're structured in an unbundled way, we have got an expectation that they manage the finances within the law in that way. The plan which has been rolled out by the Minister of Finance, it's out for public comment. The committee will consider it and identify where there are material issues which are Scopa related. We will be engaging with National Treasury in any case in the coming term of Parliament, because there are matters between Scopa and National Treasury which will need clarification. And there too, as a committee, it's not our job or prerogative to pronounce ourselves on that. But we have posed the question to Eskom on the sale of Kusile, and the responses that we have received is that they do not believe, on the basis of the work that they have done, that selling of Kusile or any of the assets would be the way to go. But that, of course, was an initial response in the interaction that we have had, and a fully comprehensive response to our questions will be given to the committee on Monday by 12 o'clock. And then the committee will apply itself and its mind to the reports of the various issues which we have raised with Eskom. On the issue of the recovery, yes, contract management remains one of the major issues which are of concern to the committee. And so further engagement between Eskom and Scopa is part of the roadmap which we are laying out in the areas of interaction, because we will be meeting with Eskom as a committee in any case for a full hearing on the basis of their annual financial statements for the year under review, and on the basis of any other information that we have had. We have not just had interactions with Eskom this week. We are doing a thorough process of interacting with the relevant stakeholders. So recoveries of finances, of monies lost to the fiscus, of contractual shortcomings where contractors have not met their obligations, we are dealing with all of those things to make sure that we tie down on that. We have requested Eskom to submit further information insofar as the issue of expansions, deviations and variations to contracts is concerned, so that we can be in a position to assess whether due process has been followed in how they have been dealing with their matters. It is, of course, public record that we met with Eskom last year, well, rather let me say in the 5th Parliament, the 5th Scopa met with Eskom. What is clear is that there are matters of disciplinary action which are still in process. We are going to be receiving the full schedule of that, and there are a number of cases. Colleagues will remind me, if I'm not mistaken, there's over 1,000 of these cases which require investigation, and of course then they will be whittled down to those that require action and to what extent. But some of them have already gone through the process. There have been dismissals, and so that report as well will be, so that we can assess whether the manner in which Eskom is undertaking its disciplinary processes inspires the necessary confidence and induces the recoveries that we want.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Any more hands? Okay, the gentleman back.
Hi, Alex Ronnie from Reuters News Agency. My question is, did you discuss with Eskom management and the board today the subject of Eskom's debt, because over the longer term that is going to become the key issue. And you could argue that the way in which Eskom ran up that huge 440 billion rand debt was irresponsible. Government has been considering and looking into the feasibility of the state taking on a large portion of Eskom's debt. Did you discuss this with management in any way? And do you have thoughts about the way that Eskom has ramped up this colossal debt, which threatens to collapse the fiscus if it isn't handled appropriately? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lisa Sling from Business Day. You wanted to understand cost escalations at Medupi and Kusile. What was your takeaway impression? What were the major factors that led these projects to run over like that? What was your impression of the two projects getting in now? And then lastly, to use your analogy about what killed the patient, why analyze what killed the patient when the patient is dead? What good is it to look at Eskom now?
Well,
Okay, so, sorry. One more hand. Okay.
Just to add on to my colleague there, I know you're going to give a detailed report, but where are the failures at this current moment at both power stations? When will they both be complete, and how much will it cost to complete them? Just maybe give us a bit of information on that.
Okay, thanks. Over to you, Chip.
well, let me maybe start there, because that question puts into perspective everything. You see, we asked the question of what killed the patient with a view to resurrect the patient. But we need to be clear where to touch. So in the event that we had magic hands and the failure was on the heart, we would not touch the feet. We would deal with the heart to resurrect the patient. So our issue is that we can't allow Eskom to fail. And Eskom failure has got far-reaching implications for this country, particularly on the fiscus. Our issue as Scopa is following the rands and cents. It cannot be that a mega project such as Eskom's Medupi and Kusile will have material shortcomings in the absence of us coming in to understand, one, what happened, and then to set into motion a process of corrective action. So it's important that we do that exercise so that we do not shoot into the dark. We need to make informed decisions if we were to turn things around at Eskom. Our interventions are not a silver bullet. They form part and parcel of a broader parliamentary process which the Standing Committee on Finance will deal with, the Standing Committee on Appropriations will deal with, as they were dealing with the special appropriation yesterday. The Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises, which is principally responsible for the month-on-month and quarter-to-quarter oversight and reporting of Eskom as its entity, will form part and parcel of the broader oversight machinery. But what we are saying is that from wherever we are, from whatever spaces we occupy, we are duty-bound to do the things that we are expected to do. So it is in that context in that the intervention of the committee comes in. It's from that perspective that the committee puts boots on the ground to actually go to these sites. The question about our impressions, well, if everything had gone well at Medupi and Kusile, we would be very proud as a country, actually, because you can see the extent to which they are necessary. But there is admission on the part of Eskom, which we confirm through our observation, that the project from inception was not conceptualized properly. From birth, it was rushed, and there is almost a pay-as-you-go correction approach. Material deficiencies, defects are being identified in these projects as and when things happen. It's good to see that Medupi, which was the first part of the project, and of course Kusile is modeled around, it's the same design really in Kusile, then therefore you are able to borrow best experience from Medupi and minimize the risks at Kusile. But whether that is achievable now, we cannot say for certainty. But what we can say is that, and look, it's evident that corruption has taken place. There's no running away from that. If you look at the cost escalations, you look at the contract management, as far as all these things are concerned, you can identify that the challenges are there. For us is, let's get the project fixed. So the deadlines are 2020 and 2022, 2023 for Medupi and Kusile respectively. The cost escalations for each project as things stand now, on the basis of the reports before us, is that Medupi, which was initially budgeted for its 79 billion rands, will be completed at approximately 146 billion rands. Kusile, which was initially budgeted for 81 billion rands, will approximately be completed at 161 billion rands. We have come here to hold Eskom committed to its own commitments and to say we will not tolerate further escalations in this regard. And we appreciate the commitment that we received. I'm sure I speak for all my colleagues from the board and the executive and those who are on the ground who are saying, look, we'll have to do everything possible to mitigate further escalations. And we are quite certain that if we are rigorous, effective and efficient in our oversight and holding them accountable, we will be able to contain that risk. A lot of decisions were taken previously which should not have been taken, and all of those audits will need to take place so we can hold those people accountable. Our appreciation is that the board has been and executive has been very frank with us about the challenges. They've been very open and transparent, and that's the first point of departure for us, how we engage and interact. So the fact that there's an understanding on both sides that work needs to be done to assist the process is important. And so the fact that there's that commitment on its own tells you that you are dealing with people who are committed to the task at hand. We have got no reason in the main to doubt their commitment, but they will, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. It's how we implement moving onwards from here. On the issue of debt and Eskom's debt, look, we are still looking into that, because as and when things arise, the clearer the picture becomes. So all that I think we can say is that our concerns have been confirmed, and the committee will be working flat out and tirelessly to ensure that we correct all these things. I think when we have finalized our report and made our recommendations to the House, the roadmap will be very clear in terms of the direction that we want to take. But I think finally on this set of questions is that as far as we are concerned, none of this is acceptable. None of it. And none of it should be tolerated. And consequence management forms a key feature of our expectations and demands of Eskom and the law enforcement agencies, because we expect them to act, because some of the issues we know who did what, where and when, with who and why. Organized corruption took place. And amongst other things is that, as you are aware, we announced also last week, we'll be working with the SIU to refer cases so that those who are accountable can be dealt with. So that commitment is also there, and the cooperation of the anti-corruption task team is being built up, their capacity through NPA, SARS, the Hawks, the SIU, and Public Service Administration. And so we want this multi-pronged approach across government departments, by the way, and entities to become a norm. Water and sanitation remains a problem. There are problems at SAA. There are problems at Denel, so Transnet. So our focus, though, as a committee is to say, let us be systematic. We're starting with these mega projects, and then we'll proceed to other issues at Eskom. So I think there's an appreciation of our seriousness, and there's an appreciation on our side on the efforts which the leadership of Eskom is instituting. We are not sitting here saying everything with them is correct and hunky-dory or 100%, but in the main, we are dealing with people now who understand the risks involved and how this is of national importance that we get it right.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. In the absence, okay, one last question. So this is the final round. Alex, and then Lisa.
Thank you. I just because it's important, I just want to clarify if I understood you correctly. So you're saying that this is based off what Eskom has told you. Medupi should be completed in 2020, and Kusile should be completed between 2022 and 2023. And the initial cost for Medupi was 79 billion rand, but it's gone up now. The latest cost estimate is 146 billion rand. And for Kusile, it's gone from an initial estimate of 81 billion rand to a current cost estimate of 161 billion rand. Is that right?
That should be correct. I mean, I'm sure if you've also read the annual financials here, Eskom tells you itself that the last unit of the Kusile power station is expected to be placed in operation by 2023. Okay. So we are holding them accountable on the basis of their own time frames and their own commitments, because ours is to make sure that there's no further pressures to the fiscus, there's no further bleeding, there's no further losses. And the other thing, of course, is that these power stations are coming online unit by unit. So it's not to say that Kusile, all of it, will be coming online in 2023. I mean, the units are being plugged in. Just when was it? Tuesday, colleagues. There was synchronization of unit 1 at Medupi, and that was, by the looks of things, it was a successful synchronization. They now go into a 10-day, 15-day period of assessment and then move on. So it's a process, but what is important is that there has to be finality when the whole project actually is complete. And so that means tying up on contract management. It means, fixing the defects. There's quite a number of defects which Eskom has to deal with. There was a figure of about 234 million rands for some of the defects that need to be fixed. But some of these defects will be identified as and when things happen, because from inception, that's very important, so that in the reporting that you'll also do, let's take this back to when we began, that this project was set up for failure from start. And that's why it's leaking. So everybody who's intervening now, at this point, is dealing with historical issues, is dealing with historical failures and shortcomings. That's why we are asking, what killed the patient? Because from birth, a lot of things have been explained to us. We'll assess whether we are satisfied with those explanations or not. But what we cannot dispute is that from the word go, there was a rush job, and then it triggered and set into motion the problems we are saddled with now. So it's important that all of us intervene with a view of being constructive and offering solutions and look at the whole issue from every material respect. Some of the initiatives are very good. We are very happy about them. But we have not come here to praise a fish for swimming. It's its job. We have come here to make sure that we lay down the law insofar as that which is wrong be done right. And I think that Eskom fully appreciates the intervention that we made. So what I can say as well is that we had a very constructive engagement with Eskom, and that augurs well for us.
I assume the cost estimates you've given on capital costs will we ever know what the full cost of these projects were, the cost of financing? It's never, to my knowledge, it's never been very transparent. Does Scopa have a handle on that, or care to get a handle on that?
It's early days. I think that one colleague, I think it was Honorable Liz, said there's a long way to go before we fully understand. Look, with every explanation, there's more questions and then there's more answers. This is oversight in progress. It's not an event, it's a process. And that's why in the initial comments I said we are adopting Eskom. We will hold it by the hand with the many stakeholders who are in this space. And then I'm sure at the end of it all we will look back and then speak with certainty. But I mean, there are certain things we're speaking about with certainty now, that there was problems and those problems have cost us and continue to cost us.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Oh, okay. One last time, please.
I'm Bomile from Think 24. Could the Chairperson give us an overview of how the meeting with the Eskom board went, given the living picture they painted of the two projects?
No, the meeting went well. We are quite happy that, like I said, we had a very frank discussion with Eskom. We feel that.
How well?
Well, I mean, that speculation now is how well. It's speculation, but we have come out of this meeting quite satisfied that the Eskom understands us. They know that we, as a new committee of the 6th Parliament, we will be having them appearing before us quite frequently. I mean, there's talk amongst ourselves here as well initially that quarterly reports must be submitted to the committee as part of the oversight. We are not adverse to another visit to these sites. We will come back if we have to. Scheduled visits, unannounced visits to the sites, those things we will do. But what we can't do now is to speculate how well. Members have raised their issues very frankly, very openly, and Eskom has given us answers. We will, like I'm saying, there's a long list of things which Eskom still needs to give us. Their deadline is Monday, 12 o'clock, on all the issues that we have raised, and they will submit that. And then moving forward, the committee will designate amongst itself members who will be responsible for the Eskom portfolio, because it's a mammoth task that is before us. But we don't live here, with a feeling or with a view that we're dealing with the leadership at Eskom that is not cooperative. We don't. We appreciate the spirit in which we engaged. It was very professional. And that is our expectation, because our job is to ask the difficult questions. And the expectation is that anybody who appears before us answers the questions honestly. Because in any case, it's an offense to mislead Parliament. It should not happen, and the Eskom understands this, that we look back on any of the information given to us and find that we were misled. Action would have to be taken in that regard. But do we sit here with the feeling that so far we have been misled? Where there's been discrepancies in responses, we ironed that out with the board today. There was the issue of the quality of the coal, which is being used at the power stations. We have clarified ourselves along those lines. The auditors are going to submit their report, and so far as that is concerned, Eskom will submit their report, because we have given them our observations. We've been very clear about what we believe, even initial reactions which need to be sorted out. And yes, we have raised the issues of the leadership of Eskom, and we will be interacting with the minister in that regard as well, because that issue we have raised, we've raised it with a view to flag it. The office responsible, who is the minister and of the shareholder, will have a discussion with us about that. So we have been very open and transparent with Eskom, and the Eskom, as far as we are concerned, up to now, has not treated us with anything that says we're going to have a difficult journey, and that is important. So if any difficulties arise, we will report on them, because public accounts requires of us to be transparent about any dealing that we have. So there are no holy cows. So it went well, very well, extremely well. How well, it's up to you to determine, but we on this side, there's no dissenting voice. We're going back to Parliament, understanding that we have a lot of work on our shoulders, and we are equal to that task.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm sure you can have interactions with colleagues. No, but why now? We've answered all questions. They should have asked the questions on thing. What else now? What one-on-one? But Faith,